questions of this gentleman by the task force? Hearing none, we're ready to hear from Dr. Clifton Otto. Dr. Otto.
Thank you. Dr. Clifton Otto, with comments on agenda item 3, report from the market structure working group. I just had a few very brief comments. Section B, licensing, proposed licensing scheme, but business licensing, page 14, subsection 4. For testing, it says testing facilities should be licensed in accordance with current licensing requirements. You know, I think that the task force and the legislature has an opportunity to revisit our current testing program and potentially overhaul some of the ways that it's being conducted, because I think there are some deficiencies, namely that we need a gold standard methodology at the Department of Health State Lab. Testing requirements need to be appropriate for an agricultural product. We need standardized methodology and round-robin testing between labs, and any resolving difficulties with inter-island sample transport needs to be resolved. In section D, for overseeing authority, I was very happy to see the recommendation of an advisory board, and I would just recommend that specifically a medical doctor and an APRN whose primary specialty is cannabinoid medicine be included in this advisory group. And then finally, section E, other. I was very happy to see at least the heading of marijuana as a federal Schedule 1, decrim, deschedule legalization, and I'll look forward to those recommendations in the social equity group report. Thank you. Those are my comments. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Otto. Task force members, questions for Dr. Otto based on what he just shared?
Yes, Dr. Otto, thank you for coming again. I have a question for you. Should marijuana be tested as a food substance or a pharmaceutical?
So thanks, Director Choi. I think that really depends on its use and the markets that it's intended for. So, and the testing should reflect that, keeping in mind that cannabis is an agricultural product. And before there were any licenses issued, I went to the Department of Health State Lab Director and proposed what are called surrogate tests, which are very basic, simple to perform tests that can capture most of potential contaminants. And if those are picked up, then more advanced testing can be conducted. So I think as an agricultural product, cannabis is currently over-tested, and that's creating a lot of costs, regulatory costs for the dispensaries. I think there could be certain things like a state medical cannabis certification that would simplify testing requirements and provide a way for at least dispensaries to produce a product that could meet a state organic cannabis certification. So, and I hope that answered your question, but
no,
it really
Dr.
depends.
I'm a little confused. So if medical marijuana is a medicine, shouldn't it be tested as much as aspirin?
Well, so, you know, we call it medical cannabis, even though there isn't a formal definition of cannabis. This is a material that the state has authorized for medical use under its sovereign authority. And it's being subjected to tests that have been adopted from other states. But this is not a pharmaceutical product. This is not a product that you would call an FDA approved drug product that's available in our pharmacies. So you have to really look at whether it's appropriate to test it as a pharmaceutical product, because it's not. It's an agricultural product.
Dr. Otto, so when you prescribe medical marijuana and you want to have a 67% THC content and the product has 70%, is that fatal? Is that something that we should be aware of? Should the testing be so precise that there's a difference between? Would you prescribe a 67% THC content versus a 71% or 74% THC content medical marijuana product?
Well, so first of all, I would suggest getting away from this word prescribe. Medical cannabis certifying providers are not prescribing cannabis. To do that, we would need an FDA approved botanical cannabis drug product available in our pharmacy. The Netherlands has that. I think they're maybe one of the only countries right now that does. There may be a few others that are working on that. So, And I tell all my patients that I'm not even recommending that they engage in the medical use of cannabis. This is their decision under the Hawaii Patient Bill of Rights to decide what they're going to do with their bodies. And the state has authorized them to engage in the use of this substance, exempting it from the penalties associated with a state Schedule I drug. So what I'm doing is I'm providing educational information to my patients so that they can decide what they want to try, and then certainly they can give me feedback, and certainly I can provide educational information on the response that they're getting. But I have no idea what they're gaining access to, whether it's something they're growing themselves, even things they get from the dispensary. I'm not sure the manufacturing processes. Those are not completely transparent. So I cannot prescribe or even recommend this as I might do a pharmaceutical treatment. And you have to keep in mind that we as certifying providers are not treating anything. This is the patient's decision, but we are required.
So are you telling me there's no such thing as medical marijuana?
Well, so there is a substance, cannabis, that has been authorized that patients can use under state law. Even though it violates federal law, the state has authorized it. Patients have been granted access to it, either growing their own or getting it through dispensaries. So this term medical marijuana doesn't make a lot of sense to me. There's cannabis that's being used by patients to treat their medical
We shouldn't give a preference for medical marijuana. We should just tax marijuana as marijuana.
Well, so the state could certainly do that, but you could tax it based on use. As was previously mentioned, you're allowed to do that. You could say, well, if patients are going to use this substance under the supervision of a medical doctor, which is the requirement now, then they shouldn't be taxed. All other use, sure, apply a adult use tax to it. That would be one way to address it.
Okay, so I guess I'm gonna have to learn more about this prescription thing and this medical thing and this thing about you not prescribing. I think maybe the other guys, Alex Wong is right. We're not ready for prime time. Well, thank you, Chair.
Any other questions for Dr. Otto? Hearing none, we're now